Lord, we're grateful for one more day to be alive in Christ. Thank you that you have made us for a relationship with you. You are with us wherever we go. You're always with us. You're in us as well, Father. Thank you for the opportunity to have a relationship with new friends, brothers, sisters in Christ. Go with us today, Father. We see and feel your presence. Help us to know your peace. Pray for your protection. Help us to think your thoughts, say your words, and do your deeds. Go before us in Christ's name.
Just saying, did it work out for you to go to Bethlehem?
We want a group picture.
So we kind of texted back a little bit.
I'm so glad, yeah.
I mentioned that you were on the trip.
I'm glad.
He said, oh, please.
Hope you love it. You better love it. Put your hand down there.
So it yesterday. Today is more clear, I think. That small dome is actually a Muslim shrine dedicated to Harun, as he's called in Arabic. Harun is Aaron in English. Aaron, Aharon in Hebrew. So Jabal Harun we call it, the mountain of Aaron. And could be Mount Hor in Numbers 20, the place where Aaron was buried by his brother Moses on their way to the north. They continued after burying Aaron. They continued where? To Mount Nebo, which we will see tomorrow. That's the place where Moses himself died. So we are in the land of Edom, the biblical land of Edom. Tomorrow we will go to the land of Moab and Ammon. The three were the kingdoms in the Old Testament. Right, like this. You want, it's better to get closer. You can come around. It's up to you. But you started to see some of the carvings as we are walking down this valley. The valley where also the town you are staying in, and your hotel is along this valley. It's a long valley. It's called Wadi Musa, the valley of Moses. Yeah, Musa is Moses. And just before we enter the Sikh, which will lead us into the city, we have some carvings even outside. We are still outside the city, but yet they had some carvings, mainly tombs, the things that you are looking at here on the sides of the mountains were tombs. And there is a special design for a Nabatean tomb. Whenever you see this design, that will tell you straight away that this is a tomb. It's that with the steps design that you can see on the top. You can see half a pyramid of steps going to the right, another half pyramid to the left. There's another one hiding there. You can see the steps over there.
Oh, look at that.
Can you see them?
Wow, yes.
So you will see tens of these inside, and different shapes and sizes. But it's like a feature of Petra. The tombs are a feature of Petra, because the people who built Petra, the Nabateans they were called, they believed in the afterlife, like most of the people in that time, like the Egyptians, the Romans. So they had tombs, and they prepared their tombs for the whole family. So a tomb like this is not for one person; it's for a whole family. And even generations of the family would use it for decades. It's like a room from the inside with chambers on the side. So each chamber is used to bury a body, and they seal it. After 20 years they may use the same chamber again, collecting the bones. And many of the tombs in Petra were used by people in recent decades to live inside. So they were cleared so they can live inside. Now the tombs that are covered with the earthquakes and the flooding covering it, and we open them, we expect to see remains inside these and property even of the deceased people. But those who are already open like these, you don't expect to see like bones or something, because they were cleared to be able to live in them until the 1980s. As I told you, people lived in these caves. So that is a typical Nabatean tomb. If you look over there, you see a smaller steps. I don't know if you can see that.
Yeah, way up there.
So this is one of what we call the unfinished tombs. They started cutting it and never finished that. And this is important for us because it gives us an idea about how they started. And it very clear here that they started from the top. See, they finished the top part, completely finished the steps on the top part, and they were about to go further down. So imagine you go up to the mountain, you start chiseling the mountain like a platform to stand on. Standing on that level, you start cutting the top part, the steps. The next part is cutting the mountain underneath, take it down, one man lower, stand on the new level and continue cutting. One layer after the other.
It's like Mount Rushmore.
Yes.
From top to bottom, right?
Very yours.
In your hotel, in the lobby, maybe you saw that TV in the lobby, they show a documentary about these two American scientists who decided to cut a tomb in America, in sandstone mountains like this, using the same technique of the Nabateans, and they managed to finish one. So you can check it when you go inside. Also in the museum they have some nice small films to show how the treasury, for example, looked like if you go to the museum. On the left side over there you can see another shape of another tomb with a different shape. We call it the obelisk tomb. And that's because of the 4 Egyptian style triangular obelisks on the top. Can you see them? Yeah, and there is a door on the top level that is the entrance to the tomb. While the first story, the lower part, which looks like a separate, is a separate part, and there is another door down in the first level, which is one of these tricliniums that we talked about yesterday. It's a big one, though, related to the tombs around. Yeah, this is just the beginning of the carvings. Of course, there's the most famous ones and the beautiful ones are still to come. Like this is also beautiful. Also, looking back there, maybe you were wondering what these big blocks were, because these are man-made blocks. Even look at this one. It used to be decorated with columns on 4 sides. The locals call them the gin blocks. Gin, like, not like that. So you have rum yesterday. Actually, gin like in genies. Like souls, spirits. You know? So they thought that these were dedicated to the gods or the spirits or something like that. But they were not actually, archaeologically speaking, they were tombs. We call them the block tombs. It's a special design of a tomb that we find some of them around Petra.
All the carvings were done in the same time period?
Almost, yeah, we're talking 1st century BC, 1st century AD. So about these 200 years were like the golden age of the city here, when it was in its glamour and it was a center. Imagine Petra at Jesus' time. Petra was like we talk today about New York City, for example, like London, like Hong Kong, Singapore. You know, a trade center was business place. If you're doing business in the region, you have to stop by Petra.
Yes.
That's how it was. They were very wealthy. That we have one of the historians mentioning that they used to drink wine in golden cups in their royal ceremonies. their king used to serve his guests. That's how, and they used golden cups, which when they finish, they change the whole cup. They bring a new cup. So they were really wealthy. That's why the Greek and the Romans tried to control Petra. The Greek failed twice. The Romans had to do deals with the Nabateans, sometimes peaceful, sometimes war. But at the end, in the year 106 AD, they managed to control the kingdom, and they established a new province. The Romans did. So Petra became under the Romans, starting from 106 after Christ. And they established a new province. They called it Provincia Arabia, the province of Arabia. And that's the term that St. Paul used.
Yes.
Remember?
Yes.
I went to Arabia. So this is the area of Arabia back in Jesus' time. There are many scholars believe today that the wise men may have come from Petra, or even passed by Petra, or the tradition puts them coming from Persia, from Mesopotamia, because of the watching. They were very good in astronomy and watching the stars and these things. But the type of gifts, and the traditional way that the camels used, and the gifts they used, the frankincense, the myrrh, and the gold.
Yes.
So they were all things that they traded with along these routes here. And the Bible only says that they came from the east. The east means east of the Jordan River, anything east of the Jordan River, which includes a wide
that's a lot.
options. Right? But some believe that they may have come from Arabia.
How far is this?
Because they came when Jesus was still in the manger, so it may have been like a matter of weeks rather than months.
So how
of
far
trouble.
is this from here to Bethlehem?
To Bethlehem, maybe in 5 days. Easy going.
Are you trying to say that wise men and women still come to Petra?
Yes.
From Petra.
Yay! Funny. Hey, funny.
And come. This valley, you can see the path. I remember before COVID we had a big one. This is in 2019, and the flooding actually went up that wall, so covered part of the shop on the right. So we still have these big floods, and the Nabateans 2,000 years ago, they made some engineering techniques here to protect their city from the floods. They built a dam. You can see the wall, the restored part of that wall. And this is to stop water from going in that direction, which is the entrance to the city. So they bring it in this direction where they carved a tunnel in the mountain. Now you will see it as we walk. The tunnel was carved in the mountain.
Yeah.
Okay, the soldiers are here. They believe this is yes, how they dressed back then. How do you know that? How you know that? It's basically from some information you find reading from historians, or even coins, drawings on the walls, coins that shows a picture of a warrior or something like that. So you get an idea what equipment they used, or how they used to dress. Because every kingdom has its own colors and dresses.
The Nabateans, that would be how they dressed?
They think so, yeah.
They
They
think.
think
Those the same guys that robbed the train.
You can see where the guards were pretending to protect their city at the entrance to the city in the 1,000-year-old custom. We have these niches on the right and the left. These were part of a stone arch gate.
Oh.
And you can see on the top part over there what remained from that part of the arch.
Yeah.
You see the stones?
Yes.
Now you can imagine there used to be an arch connecting both sides of the crack.
Yes.
And this arch gate was in its place in the 19th century. We have some paintings with the arch in its place. A British traveller who was here in 1896, he wrote that they told him, the locals told him, this arch collapsed last year
Oh, wow.
when he visited. So he recorded that. This is how we know things about it. So probably this arch was in its place until the end of the 19th century. But it is a gate for the city from the time of the Nabateans. The pavement that you are walking on now, it's a smooth pavement, was not here when they filmed Indiana Jones. Sandy. But this is like only 15 years old. And it's concrete. We will be stepping on some of the old pavements, the stone pavements, at some point as we walk down. This is 1900 years. As we walk down, also you can keep a track of the water channel, the carved water channel. This is the open channel on the left side. You keep seeing it there. We have another one on the right side of this path. We will see. I will show you part of an aqueduct as we walk down. So there were two water systems to bring water down. Salam.
Salam.
Okay. So you can see that the pavement is not actually the same stone of these mountains. The different stones that they brought from nearby mountains. This is hard lime and marble. If they use like sandstone for the pavements, it will wear out quickly. They have to keep changing it because of the number of chariots, a number of animals and people coming in and out. On this side you can see some remains of the aqueduct. You see the red ceramic down here. It's broken, used to be cylindrical piece. Let's move a little bit down here. So this is the closed aqueduct that was in the sea, besides the open one over there. In the sea here you will see things of the niches like that one over there. See that niche in the mountain, which has something like a statue in the middle. Like a rectangular statue, but no details of it, just like a stone. This is one of the types of, they have represented their gods actually in a simple way like this, the blood god. You see something like a broken thing. You only see the bottom part of it in the middle. Because there was a statue, like a block statue. That's how they represented their gods and goddesses. Very simple block shape and eyes, like square eyes on both sides. So in the museum we have some examples. We have one here. Most of the statues were destroyed by people in different later centuries. for different beliefs. You know, you just don't believe in idols, you knock it down. You know, the Christians did that with the icons. We call it the iconoclast, the war against the icons. Tomorrow we talk about that when we go to see the mosaics in Mount Nebo and Madaba. So they believed in different gods and goddesses, like the Greek and the Romans. Later on, they moved into Christianity. And Petra became a major Christian city during the Byzantine period, which is the early Christian period. Petra had a bishop. The bishop of Petra, we see his title always mentioned when the early sources talk about those who attended the early church council. The bishops who came to attend the famous council in the early history of the church. The Bishop of Petra was there. One of our local churches is the Melkite Catholic Church, which is an Eastern Catholic Church. Their bishop in Amman today, he's holds the title Bishop of Philadelphia and Petra. So they still keep this seat for the bishops. Maybe in the future, you know, we don't know, but it's possible. That we'll have the seat fully, you know, this is history changes. And Philadelphia, if you're wondering, was actually not your Philadelphia, but Amman, our capital city. Our capital was called Philadelphia back in Jesus' time. And it is different from the Philadelphian church. There were two of them. The one we have here was one of the Decapolis, one of the Decapolis, or the 10 cities mentioned in the Bible. Now, in the Bible, we have a relation, marriage relation between the people of Petra and a figure in the Bible that you all know, Herod Antipas, who's the one who beheaded John the Baptist. Tomorrow we will see the place where he was beheaded, in Jordan. But because things are very close here, people had marriages, especially royal family. So this Herod Antipas, who is the son of Herod the Great, the son. Herod the Great was the one in charge when Jesus was born, right? He was the one who ordered the killing of the children in Bethlehem. That's why the Holy Family went to Egypt. Came back after they heard that the king died. That's Herod the father. Seems like Herod was like a title rather than a name, because there are many who were called Herod. His two sons were called Herod. So Herod, later called the Great, the father, died, and his kingdom was divided between his sons. One of his sons was called Antipas. This king, according to Josephus writing, the historian, Antipas was married to the princess of Petra for 20 years of marriage. They were married for 20 years, no children, a long marriage. And this king once went to Rome, a trip to Rome, and there his brother Philip was living, or was visiting, with his wife Herodias. And Philip and Herodias had a daughter, teenager, called Salome. Herod Antipas, it's a good sign. Herod Antipas came to Rome, and he agreed with his brother's wife to marry her. And her condition was, okay, you have to divorce your wife, the Nabatean princess. So the news starts spreading, and it reached this princess, who decided to run to her father in Petra. So she came to Petra, told her father about her husband's intentions, and he said, I will revenge for you. So after a couple of years, he did revenge. But during that period, Antipas married his brother's wife, and his brother was still alive. So this was against the law. That's why John the Baptist was always against this relation, which led to his beheading later. after the beheading of John the Baptist, the king of Petra here moved his army and fought with King Herod's army near the Sea of Galilee. And they defeated Herod's army. Herod Antipas, the one who beheaded John the Baptist. And Josephus mentions that some of the soldiers fleeing the battle from the defeated army, they believed that this defeat was a punishment from God to our king because he killed the baptized. It's like he's sending the people of Petra to defeat him, like a punishment. So this is one relation in the New Testament, how you can relate Petra also to the stories we know from the Bible, the beheading of John the Baptist. It did not happen here, but it happened very close from here, at the point where the border between Petra's kingdom and Herod Antipas' kingdom was, and that is Makairos or Makawar. It's a site we will stop by tomorrow to see where he was beheaded. Thank you very much. This is probably the most beautiful way these days, and the most accessible way these days because of the ticket control. But it also was a main entrance to Petra because it leads to the King's Way, the main route that passes by Petra. But if you're coming from Gaza or from the Mediterranean, you may enter from the other side. It's a city that is surrounded with mountains on the east and the west. Mountains on the east and the west. But from the north and south, it's so they had to build walls even for this, to protect their city from the north and south. So yeah, always great views here. You can see that big rock which looks like it's cracking and ready to go down. You see that crack? But that needs a big earthquake to move it, to make it fall down. We didn't have any serious things in the last, let's say, century. The big earthquake the last earthquake that took place here in 1927. I mean, the south part of Jordan, not only in Petra. And yeah, look at the view behind us.
I assume that when somebody would siege on the city, they wouldn't come this way, they'd come the other direction. This would be
But it's if you're defending your city, this is one of the easy entrances to defend.
Yeah.
If you can control the things up there.
Yeah.
So usually when you have a city like this with good defense system around, natural defense and even artificial or man-made, you will be afraid of the long siege. And that's why you make your own supplies of water inside, like the dams they built, like the cisterns to collect water, so you can survive as much as you can. Maybe your enemy will have another mission to leave you and go, and that's what you will be hoping for, because sieges can take years back then. So if they have another mission, they are called to help the other forces, they can withdraw and you will be out. Or you need to call for help maybe, somebody come and help you to break the siege. And if nothing happened, you have to surrender. That's how the sieges end. And one thing you need to be prepared for is that your enemy cut the sources of water. Like these channels that you see, they come from the springs outside. So it can be cut, or poisoned. So you have to be ready inside with supplies of water inside. That's how you prepare yourself. Okay.
Again, while I'm recording here.
Steve, you were right. look at that one too. You may see something like a big opening. Two eyes above it, like a big screamy mouth, screamy face.
Let's say a wide mouth bass and just keeping the fish family messages. I love it. I love our text.
Somebody showed me a dinosaur over there.
Oh yeah.
Try to see something new. Let me know so I can use it next time.
I think he's screaming.
Well, I'm so blessed to have you here.
In the late 1990s. But I have some pictures from the black and white pictures from 1920s. With the level of sand reaching those kind of so it's like 2 meters, 3 meters even. So now it's clean. No, they cleaned it. There was a project to clean it, to clean part of it. They have uncovered part of the pavement. Other parts we didn't find the stones. They were washed by the floods centuries ago, so they made the concrete pavement.
Oh, I see.
This is dedicatory inscription that says something about somebody who dedicated this god niche, the niche for this god, to the grace, to the blessings of the people of Petra. That's why. That's why we see that so many niches here, each one with a statue inside. See, mostly we don't see the details of that. But each one was a dedication from somebody to the people of Petra, like a big visitor coming to the city. For example, there's one back there, which is a dedication from the high priest of the city of Adri, which is Der'a today in South Syria. He came to visit here and ordered or paid for this niche to be established to remember his visit and to bless the people of Petra. So the people of Petra, as we said yesterday, they depended on camel caravans and trade. You can see here on this plate a map of the trade routes, and Petra is in the central. It's the central part of this map. So all the routes would pass by the surroundings area of Petra here. And the camel caravans used to go with the leaders leading the hundreds of camels moving and carrying very precious goods to cross from the south, from Arabia, to the north, to Europe, and to Africa. See that? If you imagine it, Petra is here, and they control Gaza and the Mediterranean, which is in South Palestine today. But there's a connection, land connection with Egypt from there. The only land connection between Africa and Asia is that one. So if you control that, you're controlling the land trade between Asia and Africa. The only land passage. Otherwise, you have to use the sea. So this was very important to control, and the Nabateans did control that part for centuries. Okay, let's move on the right side. Because this was the daily life of people, the trade, they made a little carving here for us. He's wearing sandal on his feet. You can tell a lot about social life, how the soldiers, for example, will dress, from figures like this. And the top part of this man is totally destroyed. You can see this is like a caravan leader. He's leading a camel caravan. Behind him, there's a camel with a hump. The front legs and hoofs, the rear ones. Couple of feet behind, that's another man, another camel, 3 camels. Imagine it in a good shape. Imagine the water flowing behind it in the channel. Was like a piece of art. Okay, let's move on. Please allow the other groups to come. Thank you. Here. This has to do with water.
Ooh.
Block it and open, close.
And so you go get water?
Yeah, this is water. It collects good amounts of water behind. These are restored dams. But according to what we believe was the system used back then. There's another one here. Remember yesterday we talked about this kind of tank with a switch box? Yes. Like you see the aqueduct coming in?
Yep.
This is continues this way and then goes into that stone like tank. See the small tank? Like this shape, this width. It has one inlet coming from the aqueduct, but you have 2 lines coming out.
Okay.
See, there's 2 levels coming out of that tank. So if they want the water to flow in one of these, they will block the other one. They close the outlet. So the water continues to that level, for example, or the lower level. Depends where the water, they want the water to go inside the city, which district of the city to go to. It's like a switch. You just switch it to the other side. You ready for the Indiana Jones moment?
Yes.
Okay, just around the corner we have.
I'll take a picture.
We have a great view waiting for you.
This is fun. You did great, Lynn.
Oh, there we go. 1, 2. No, I did that. 1, 2, 3.
We can take 3 money. You can do it for free.
Okay, thank you. Excuse me.
والله 10 مرات والله 10 والله ما انا 10
Happy hour price?
If you can reach it walking, you can think of riding.
Let me get him over right over here. Let's go over here.
Please join me on this side. I have the treasury behind me. If you let me here, and you can look at this painting of the treasury. I'll be pointing things here so you can check it behind. We call it treasury, my friend. So from the name, you may expect that this was like a bank or a safe where they kept their treasures. But actually the name comes from a legend that the locals believed in for centuries. It's about a pharaoh, one of the pharaohs of Egypt, bringing his treasures to a safe place, to keep it in a safe place. And they think that Petra was this place. The treasury, especially this one, was used to hide his treasures. So the belief was that the treasures were hidden inside the big urn that you see on the top, the center, and the statues that you see on the top, the second story. Because of this, some of the locals, like 100 something years ago, they started their guns and rifles to shoot on.
You can see the bullet holes in the walls. See the bullet holes in the walls?
Yeah, you can see the bullet holes in the central statue.
And they shot the urns.
And the big urn on the top is broken because of the shooting. Some people who said if there are treasures inside, let us kick them out. Let us break these and bring the treasures out. Fortunately for us, there was nothing inside. It was all solid. Because there was no treasure actually. There was just a legend about the pharaoh. And the name, the treasury, comes from that legend. It was never used as a treasury. It was, we believe, most scholars believe it was a tomb for one of the kings of Petra. Some books you may read that it is a temple. Actually, temples had certain design. We don't find here. It's more like a tomb, a royal tomb, if you will. From the inside, there's a big room that goes 45 feet deep. And on three sides of the room, through the three walls inside, each one has a chamber. We used to go inside, like 15 years ago. People used to go in and out. And then they found there was big effect on the steps and the walls. So they stopped that. And it is now allowed to reach that wall, which also behind that wall, we made an excavation about 8 years ago under the treasury. We went down under the treasury and they found 3 tombs below the treasury. And we believe, we did an excavation in this point here. Now it's covered again. But 12 feet underneath us, there's pavement. It covered all this area. In the museum, there's a nice movie they show, a short one, about how this area used to look like. So they believe that this was all paved, and there was like a wide staircase, starting from this point, and goes gradually up to the treasury. So as you go up, you will see on both sides below you like a pavement, like a yard. Now, we hope one day we will be able to uncover this all, but it's a very hard area to do this because of, it's the main attraction, you know. You can't close it for a while. I think they must have worked during COVID. I think nobody was expecting it to last for a long time. Just happening month by month, postponing. So yes, it is It is the treasury, and you can see on this painting, which is from the 19th century, that the third column from the left was broken in this painting. You see, it has been restored.
How many meters tall is it? It's about 14 meters.
So the third column there, you can see the traces of the stones used to restore. Otherwise, everything is like a one-piece carving. There is nothing built here. Even those columns, they were carved from the mountains. And imagine that mountain used to look like this before they. So we think also they did this from top going down. And you can see on the side, you see something like leather steps. These were used for like scaffolds. Go up, climb, and they were used also in later centuries to destroy the faces of the statues, which we can see no faces here for any of the statues because of human destruction.
Vandalism didn't exist back then.
That's different. We don't know exactly who did this, but somebody with the idea against statues, against human representation.
If we want to ride a camel, is this the best place to do it, or will there be other
There's
opportunities?
other opportunities, of course, but there's a special in each place. It's a special feature. So I'll tell you about it. Lots of Greco-Roman influence in the architecture. And sometimes they call it like a classical building, but it's maybe influences from Greece, Rome, and even Egypt, because the statue with the bullet holes there is the Egyptian goddess, the goddess Isis, or Isis. She is in Egypt, in Egyptian mythology, the wife of Osiris. This god Osiris was killed by his brother Seth, the god of death, while Isis was pregnant with the god Horus. He was born and grow up. He revenged from his uncle. He managed to put the body of his father back to life again. It's a long story, but they say the tears of Isis formed the Nile River. She was so sad, spending her life mourning Osiris. So it's another symbol of something about death rather than about treasure or banks or even temple. Also the big urn that you see on the top. The urn was a symbol for a grave, because in some civilizations they used to burn the dead body and put the ashes in a small urn and then place it inside a niche in what we call the columbarium, which is many niches inside. So another symbol for tombs. Even here between the two columns on the right and the two on the left, you can see something like two horses. There's a knight standing beside each horse. Without the heads, forget about the heads. So these two were actually in the Greek mythology, Castor and Pollux, the two twin gods. They are the sons of Zeus. And here they are not riding on the horses, but leading the horse. One is taking his horse east, the other one is taking his horse to the west, and they are waiting for the soul to come out from the tomb, to take it on the back of the horse and lead it to the afterlife. So Castor and Pollux. So many things to see. The pediment, for example, inside the pediment there's these curly branches of a vine. Grapevine was always a symbol for, vine, grapes, wheat, pomegranate, cones. These were all symbols for fertility because they have too many seeds inside. So the goddess of fertility usually is represented when you see these figures. And there's the broken pediment on the top with 4 eagles Perhaps you can see the legs of one eagle over there. The eagle was another symbol for Shara, the god. Okay, at one of the tombs we discovered underneath, they found an incense burner with carbonized incense. When you find this kind of organic material, incense comes from trees, sap of tree. So when you find something like this, it is very important for archaeologists because they can date it very accurately using the radiation, the carbon-14 test, C14, which gives you very accurate data. So those tombs turned out to be from the end of the 1st century BC, which means the treasury was built a little bit after, because it's on top of it. And we think that it is the beginning of the 1st century AD. So we're talking about Jesus' time. It is considered as the best preserved facade in Petra because it is surrounded with the mountains. So it's in a closed area. You will see larger facades soon, larger than this, the royal tombs, for example. But nothing in the shape, the finest, I mean the details here with the erosion, but it is in good shape relatively. Most well known and most well preserved because of the